It's 4 p.m. here in Korea on the 25th of November. I'm Devin Whiting, and it's the first of three days of diplomacy in the southeastern city of Busan between the leaders of South Korea and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations as they celebrate 30 years of ties. Thanks for joining us as our live coverage continues. Let's go down now to Busan and the venue for the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit, BEXCO. Lots already happening today and more to come, so we connect to our Moon Jae-in, who's on site with the latest. Kanyang, I'll hand it over to you and see you in just a bit.
Thank you, Devin. Well, coming to you live from the International Media Center at the 2019 ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit, I'm Moon Jae-in. Now, as you can see right behind me, more and more journalists are filling up the seats as we go on with this summit at the Media Center. Now, President Moon Jae-in just held a one-on-one with Indonesian President Joko Widodo, and he's going to be sitting down with the Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte very shortly. After these meetings, President Moon will be hosting a welcome dinner that's scheduled to start at 6 p.m. Korea time. Roughly 300 people are expected to be attending that welcoming ceremony, including the ASEAN leaders, as well as the heads of state, as well as senior officials from Korea's biggest conglomerates. Now, earlier this morning, President Moon Jae-in held a one-on-one with his Thai counterpart, and he said Thailand is South Korea's most important partner in various aspects, including his new southern policy. And he looks forward to expanding their bilateral partnership in a wide range of areas regarding technology. Now, during his meeting with Thailand's Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha this morning, he thanked Thailand for its support in helping South Korea successfully host the ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit and the first Mekong Korea Summit. President Moon also said he looks forward to expanding their partnership in areas including national defense, water management, science, technology, and infrastructure. The Thai Prime Minister also said he anticipates more cooperation in areas such as future generation cars, smart batteries, and other fourth industrial revolution technologies. Now, on the sidelines of the main ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit here in Busan, the Culture Innovation Summit just wrapped up here in BEXCO. President Moon Jae-in was also attending this summit, where he emphasized on the need for South Korea and ASEAN nations to cooperate to take their joint culture to the global level. Our Kim Myung-yeon has a wrap-up.
World-renowned content producers gathered at the 2019 ASEAN-ROK Culture Innovation Summit on Monday on the sidelines of the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit. Some 600 people, including President Moon Jae-in and his counterparts from Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar, were in attendance. During his welcoming remarks, President Moon Jae-in stressed the need to work with Southeast Asia to foster cooperation in the cultural sector.
한국이 같은 문화적 정체성 위에서 아시안 문화 콘텐츠의 동반자가 되겠습니다. 아시안과 협력해 글로벌 문화 시장 진출을 모색하고 미래 세대의 상호 이해와 우정을 깊게 다지는 문화 교류의 협력 플랫폼으로 발전시켜 나가겠습니다.
The Korean president vowed to hold the Culture Innovation Summit on a yearly basis and create campaigns and organizations aimed at boosting cooperation in the film and culture education sector. A total of 5 speakers have been invited to speak during the forum, including Big Hit Entertainment CEO Bang Si-hyuk, the producer of the leading K-pop stars BTS, as well as Netflix CEO Reed Hastings and the head of IME Entertainment Group, Brian Chow. The speakers in general spoke of the role of the Korean wave and 5G and AI technologies in developing the contents industry. SK Telecom CEO Park Jung-ho and animation director Pierre Coffin also delivered speeches on their experiences and ideas to create contents that can be shared by the global community based on Korea and the ASEAN countries' own cultures. The Blue House says that the ASEAN-ROK Culture Innovation Summit reveals new potential for growth and provides a blueprint for practical cooperation between South Korea and the ASEAN nations. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News, Busan.
Now, also in attendance at the CEO Summit was President Moon Jae-in this morning. arranged on the sidelines of the ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit. Now there, he talked about his vision to further boost Seoul-ASEAN cooperation to become a community that prospers together. Our Kim Min-ji has this wrap-up.
President Moon Jae-in says South Korea and ASEAN will become a community in which they grow together, highlighting the importance of their partnership. Speaking at the CEO Summit on the sidelines of the ASEAN-Korea Summit in Busan on Monday, Moon said that South Korea and ASEAN have been stepping up cooperation on more and more fronts, from diplomacy and commerce to culture and defense, adding that Seoul is an optimal partner for the bloc.
발전 가능성이 무궁무진하며 평균 연령 29세의 젊은 아시안에게 한국은 믿을 만한 최적의 파트너가 아닐 수 없습니다. 한국과 함께라면 더 빨리, 더 멀리 함께 성장하는 공동체가 될 것입니다.
To achieve this, President Moon presented a three-point vision, which first seeks to boost people-to-people exchanges. Moon said that South Korea will support the establishment of education and research institutes to share Seoul's development experience with ASEAN nations. Also part of his plan is stepping up cooperation to achieve co-prosperity and innovative growth, as well as boosting connectivity.
내년에 만들어지는 신남방 비즈니스 협력센터는 한국 기업의 아세안 진출을 촉진하고 아세안 기업의 경쟁력을 강화하는 주춧돌이 될 것입니다. 아세안은 연계성 강화에 많은 노력을 기울이고 있습니다. 한국이 보유한 교통, 에너지, 스마트 시티 분야의 강점을 활용하여 아세안의 인프라 건설을 돕겠습니다.
The president said this whole will go hand in hand with ASEAN because development there is in turn the development of South Korea. He also called for an inclusive spirit from ASEAN nations to incorporate North Korea, saying that if denuclearization is achieved, they will become an East Asian community. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News, Busan.
But also here at BEXCO at the International Media Center, government officials have been talking about the South Korea-Japan ties. The South Korean government says it will do its best to speed up the process of holding working-level talks with Japan on the export control issue. Speaking to reporters on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Busan, Trade Minister Sung Yun-mo said Seoul will work to fine-tune the details of the timing, location, and agenda of the meetings. The ministry did not comment on reports that the talks might happen this week, but he did say they'll happen in the near future. The South Korean government is warning Japan against any attempt to spread false information about Seoul's decision to conditionally rethink the termination of their military information sharing pact. The pact was due to expire a couple of days ago, and just hours before it would have lapsed. The South Korean government made a U-turn. Our Shin Se-min reports from right here in Busan.
South Korea is warning Japan to fairly report on a recent deal to temporarily extend the deadline of the military info-sharing pact known as GSOMIA. Baffled by a string of announcements and reports out of the Japanese government and media that run totally counter to the South Korean government's own words, South Korea's National Security Director Chung Eui-yong fought back hard on Sunday. He rejected the Japanese government's claim that South Korea admitted to faults in its exports monitoring controls and suggested putting its WTO complaint over Tokyo's trade curbs on hold to bring Japan back to dialogue. Countering Japanese media reports that said it was a perfectly winning game for Japan, Seoul's top security chief said it was actually a success for South Korean diplomacy, which was based on principles and tolerance. Chung added there would not have been any deal under the terms laid out by Japan and warned he would like to tell Japan to quote-unquote try me. He also accused Tokyo of making groundless claims and trying to provoke Seoul. He noted that during a meeting Saturday between their foreign ministers Kang Kyung-hwa and Toshimitsu Motegi, Japan's foreign ministry apologized for incorrect information issued by its finance ministry. As for remarks by Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe reportedly saying that Japan made no concessions regarding the deal, Chung said he seriously questions the conscience of such comments being uttered by a national leader. The top national security advisor added that should Tokyo's actions continue, their negotiations will quickly reach a critical point, hinting at the termination of the deal at any time. 신세민, Arirang News, Busan.
Now, the South Korean presidential office, meanwhile, refuted another report coming from Japanese media Monday morning and said Japan is behind what's called the truth game. In a readout to reporters, the senior presidential secretary for public communication reaffirmed that Tokyo did apologize to Seoul for the controversy over the Japanese government's announcement of distorted facts about the deal made between the two countries. Now, according to the Japanese daily Yomiuri Shimbun, a Japanese foreign ministry official had denied that Japan had apologized. South Korea and ASEAN countries along the Mekong River have many similarities, including their war-torn past in the second half of the 20th century. Korea's official aid agency is aiming to ramp up efforts to bring peace and prosperity to ASEAN countries with greater development cooperation. Now this as South Korea hosts the first ever Mekong Republic of Korea Summit on Wednesday. Our Oh Soo-young reports.
Removing the remnants of war along the Mekong River, South Korea is aiming to restore the land for generations to come. Korea's official aid agency KOICA has been helping clear landmines from countries that were affected by the Indo-China Wars. More than 220,000 people have been injured or killed by the explosives since the 1960s, across Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam and Myanmar in particular. In those countries, KOICA is supporting locals affected by war and replacing the former conflict zones with peace villages.
This initiative encompasses 3 P values: people, peace, and prosperity, and is receiving great attention and expectations from the governments and people of the partner countries in the Mekong region.
KOICA on Monday signed MOUs with Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, the Philippines and Vietnam to strengthen cooperation in core areas of development.
ASEAN countries are included in the KOICA's high priority partner countries. Following the government's new southern policy, KOICA plans to double the ODA volume to those countries in the next 5 years. We also aim to enhance the effectiveness of development cooperation by means of focusing on 5 areas of digital partnership, higher education, rural development, smart cities, and transportation.
Korea's official development assistance to the 5 countries and Indonesia has grown from $86.7 million in 2011 to $115.8 million in 2017. Its flagship projects include rural development, ICT training and infrastructure, education, women's empowerment and leadership, as well as public policy. Since 1991, KOICA has expanded its operations to 44 offices around the globe, implementing diverse development projects, training and overseas volunteering programs. South Korea soon celebrates its 10-year anniversary of its transition from a recipient country of international aid to an official donor country in 2009. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Well, aside from the back-to-back bilateral summits with the leaders of the ASEAN members, South Korean President Moon Jae-in spent most of this morning and early afternoon focusing on business relations between ASEAN and the Republic of Korea and in cultural exchanges between the two. Joining me here live at the International Media Center for the 2019 ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit is Ambassador Chung Eun-moon, former Secretary General of the ASEAN-Korea Center and former ambassador to Thailand. Ambassador Chung, welcome to the program.
Good to see you.
Now, President Moon Jae-in called for greater cultural cooperation between ASEAN and South Korea, saying cultural content industry is one of the most promising sectors of growth. The remarks he made at the Culture Innovation Summit earlier today. Ambassador Chung, would you elaborate on the importance of soft power in ASEAN-Republic of Korea relations?
Let me first share with you some of the elements the President has emphasized during his speech before the gathering of ASEAN-Korea Culture Innovation Summit. Firstly, the President proposed that we, Korean culture, K-culture, and ASEAN culture move together to the world. And the second element he emphasized is that cultural contents are not only culture, but also a most promising growth industry. And also he added that Korea, on the basis of similar cultural identity with ASEAN, is willing to become a partner for ASEAN's cultural content. I think this is a very important element he outlined during his speech before the gathering. And I think Korea and ASEAN up until now has been cooperating very, very well in terms of Korean wave and ASEAN wave. I think we need to redouble our efforts to introduce more of ASEAN wave to the Korean audience so that Korea and ASEAN can legitimately claim to have balance of cultural exchanges, interactions between the two sides.
Absolutely. So a two-way exchange in cultural power or cultural exchanges. Now, Ambassador Chung, at the CEO Summit, President Moon presented a three-point vision, the first of which was a people-to-people exchange. What else was the South Korean president trying to emphasize at the ASEAN-Republic of Korea CEO Summit?
Well, at the CEO Summit, President Moon, using his speech, he proposed three directions for cooperation on behalf of our communities growing together. First, he proposed that people-centered, inclusive cooperation. He emphasized that this is very important. And then second proposal he made is cooperation for mutual prosperities and innovative growth. And third one he emphasized is cooperation for strengthened connectivity, because connectivity is a very important issue for ASEAN integration and for the realization of ASEAN communities.
Right, and you also mentioned that the leaders of the ASEAN will be adopting 3 documents. Would you briefly go over those for us, please?
I think at the end of the day, there will be 3 statement declaration to be issued to summarize the discussions made by the leaders during the 2 days of summit. The first one is joint vision statement. This vision statement will be the cornerstone for future cooperation between ASEAN and Korea. And then the second document to be announced will be co-chaired statement. This co-chaired statement will cover a variety of cooperative projects and some outcomes of them according to 3 areas, that is political security area, and economic area, and social cultural areas. And then the third one is Han-Lib, Mekong-Lib Declaration. I think this will be focused on the cooperation between Korea and the Mekong. That cooperation will be elevated to summit level from the ministerial level up until now.
Right, so Han River Miracle, now moving on to a Mekong River Miracle, perhaps.
Exactly.
Well, all right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Chung, for your valuable insights today, and thank you for wrapping it up very nicely.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps up our coverage from the MPC Media Press Center of the 2019 ASEAN-Republic of Korea Commemorative Summit. And I'm now going to toss it over to Devin Whiting in Seoul for the day's headlines. Devin, I hear that there is also a fashion week going on right here at the Commemorative Summit.
Yes, indeed, that's right. A very special event. Another one to highlight today was the fashion show held to promote the joint development of South Korea and ASEAN in the field of fashion. And we now go to our Kim Jae-hee, who is at the BEXCO auditorium. Jae-hee, tell us about the show.
Hi, Devin. As the main event of the 4-day-long ASEAN-Korea Fashion Week that kicked off last Friday, the ASEAN-Korea Summit Special Fashion Show was held from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday at BEXCO Auditorium in Busan, on the sidelines of the main ASEAN-Korea Summit. Hosted by Busan Metropolitan City and organized by the Busan Economic Promotion Agency, the fashion show aims to promote cooperation and prosperity between South Korea and countries in Southeast Asia in the field of fashion. Under the theme 11 Becoming One, the joint fashion show brought together around 500 people from the fashion industry in Korea and Southeast Asia, including designers and fashion association directors, as well as fashion journalists. Multicultural families and international students in Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongsang-Namdo province were invited as spectators as well to join the show.
Now, Jae-hee, I understand that this show went beyond the runway to some unique performances as well. Tell us about those.
100 different outfits were on display, 10 outfits from each of the 10 ASEAN nations. And leading designers also showcased Korean fashion through the Hanbok Fashion Show. Korean traditional dresses were performed to show off Korea's traditional hanbok clothing. There was also a fashion concert featuring b-boys and K-pop rap star Super B. South Korean and ASEAN fashion industry executives will also launch the ASEAN-Korea Fashion Industry Exchange Association at 5 p.m. Monday at the Haeundae Grand Hotel. There, chief executives of the fashion industry will sign an MOU to boost cultural exchanges. The association will take charge of exchanging fashion industry information and promoting fashion equipment and fabrics for future fashion shows in both South Korea and the ASEAN member states. That's all I have at this hour. Back to you, Devin.
All right, we appreciate it. Kim Jae-hee reporting from the BEXCO auditorium. Now, in other news, South Korea's defense ministry has expressed regret over North Korea's recent firing of artillery near the inter-Korean border, according to a report Monday by North Korean state media, which did not mention a date or other details. Artillery shells were fired from the Changrin Islet Defense Detachment at the very southwestern point of North Korean territory when the detachment was visited by Kim Jong-un. The North Korean leader reportedly ordered soldiers there to fire the shells, calling for a, quote, warlike drill to raise their combat efficiency. Seoul was quick to react to the report. The defense ministry said Monday that the firing of artillery violates the Pyongyang Declaration signed by the two Koreas last September, and it called on the North to halt all acts that raise military tensions on the border. Japan has been imposing export curbs for months now on South Korea, but major Korean semiconductor and display makers say they haven't been affected by the export controls. Four major South Korean chip makers, Samsung Electronics, SK Hynix, Samsung Display, and LG Display, told the Trade Ministry that their manufacturing lines have not been affected at all since Tokyo's export controls began in July. They said that's mainly thanks to efforts by the industry and the government to localize materials and secure alternative sources. Since Tokyo enacted export curbs on three key materials used in making chips and displays 5 months ago, Seoul's been trying to reduce its dependency on Japanese materials. All of Korea's high-speed KTX and commuter trains have been operating normally as of 9 a.m. on Monday after the Korean Railway Workers Union and management reached a deal on a pay raise and to take on more staff. The agreement comes after 2 days of marathon negotiations over the weekend, officially ending the indefinite strike that began last Wednesday. There are still a few services run by KoRail that'll take a day or two to get back to normal, such as some subway lines. During the strike, though, the KTX bullet trains were operating at less than 70% of their usual levels, causing major inconveniences for commuters. K-pop sensations BTS have won 3 awards at the American Music Awards held Sunday in Los Angeles. They were named Favorite Duo or Group in the pop and rock category, making them the first non-English language singers to win that honor. BTS also won Tour of the Year and Favorite Social Artist. BTS did not attend the award ceremony, but sent a video message thanking fans for their support and love. It's the second year that BTS have won at the AMAs. And that's it from the News Center at this hour. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, the official broadcaster of the ASEAN Summits in Busan, because there's lots more coming up throughout the day, including the latest news, interviews, and commentary. Bye for now.